Good day everyone. In this presentation, I will be discussing about the environmental effects of food production. But before that, let me introduce myself first. I am Jesus Miras, a junior BA in Communication at Negros Oriental State University. Alright, so let's get this started. So first, the 10.4 environmental effects of food production, under which are the topsoil erosion, high energy inputs, desertification, soil and water pollution, climate change, and reduction of biodiversity. The next one is 10.5, producing food more sustainably. Under this topic are explain food security and why is it difficult to attain, discuss how food is produced, and lastly, explain the environmental effects of industrialized food. Soil erosion is a naturally occurring process that affects all land forms. In agriculture, soil erosion can refer to the wearing away of a field's topsoil by the natural physical forces of water or through forces associated with farming activities such as tillage. Topsoil, which is high in organic matter, fertility, and soil life, is relocated elsewhere on site where it builds up over time or is carried off site where it fills in drainage channels. Soil erosion reduces cropland productivity and contributes to the pollution of adjacent watercourses, wetlands, and lakes. So soil erosion can be a slow process that continues relatively unnoticed or can occur at an alarming rate, causing serious loss of topsoil. Soil compaction, low organic matter, loss of soil structure, poor internal drainage, salinization, and soil acidity problems are other serious soil degradation conditions that can accelerate at the soil erosion process. High energy inputs. So energy input is the amount of energy going into a system. What are energy intensive inputs? These are mineral fertilizers, chemical pesticides, fungicides, and herbicides all require energy in their production, distribution, and transport processes. Fertilizers from the largest of these energy inputs to agriculture, while pesticides are the most energy-intensive agriculture input. Desertification is defined as land degradation in arid, semiarid, and dry subhumid areas resulting from temporary climate crises, especially droughts that occur periodically, and harmful human activities in vulnerable ecosystems. Land degradation and desertification can affect human health through complex pathways. As land is degraded and deserts expand in some places, food production is reduced, water sources dry up, and populations are pressured to move to more hospitable areas. Soil and water pollution. Soil pollution can lead to water pollution if toxic chemicals leach into groundwater or if contaminated runoff reaches streams, lakes, or oceans. Soil also naturally contributes to air pollution by releasing volatile compounds into the atmosphere. Nitrogen escapes through ammonia volatilization and denitrification. Pollutants in soil, groundwater, and in food chain can cause a variety of diseases and excess mortality in humans, from short-term acute effects such as intoxications or diarrhea to long-term chronic effects like cancer. Climate change is a long-term change in the average weather patterns that have come to define Earth's local, regional, and global climates. These changes have a broad range of observed effects that are synonymous with the term. Changes in climate, such as temperature, moisture, pests, weeds, disease, and increased CO2, will reduce food production worldwide. Crop yields, such as rice, wheat, and maize, will see a decline when reacting to the rise in global temperatures. Biodiversity loss refers to the decline or disappearance of biological diversity, understood as the variety of living things that inhabit the planet, its different levels of biological organization and their respective genetic variability, as well as the natural patterns present in ecosystems. Biodiversity loss is caused by 5 primary drivers: the habitat loss, invasive species, overexploitation, such as extreme hunting and fishing pressure, pollution, climate change associated with global warming. Less biodiversity means that plants and animals are more vulnerable to pests and diseases, and since we rely on the living organisms, it can impact our food security and risk in our health. Alright, so let's move on to the next topic, which is producing food more sustainably. So the question here is, explain food security and why is it difficult to attain? Food security is the measure of an individual's ability to access food that is nutritious and sufficient in quantity. Food security is really difficult to attain due to the world population growth, and this means that the demand of food increases. Everyone demands for food, and due to the scarcity of products, the access of food for a one family is limited and inaccessible, especially for those who are less privileged in the society. Major factors also are climate change that could lead to food losses and food waste. Due to the changing weather patterns of our climate, our agricultural habitat and food production negatively affects by these. And because of this, it also affects the increase of food prices in the market, which bounces back to the consumers. Alright, so a food production system is defined as the inputs, process, and outputs required to feed a defined population. Food production has a long way process before it serves to our individual plate. Before products is ready to sell in the markets, we sow the seedlings first and put fertilizers to nourish. Just as the animals and other basic commodities, it needs to come with the right process. Moving on to the last question, which is explain the environmental effects of industrialized food. Industrialized agriculture harms the environment through pollution of air, soil, and water. Industrialized agriculture also include deforestation, climate change, irrigation problems, pollutants, soil degradation, and waste disposal. While it harms our environment because of the use of instant food production technology, it also harms the health of human beings and risk of diseases caused by the depletion of industrialized food production processes. To sum it all up, we should utilize our natural resources efficiently, reduce use of fossil fuels, and optimize water use in production. Optimize land use and reduce the conversion of land for agriculture. Design energy and water-efficient food manufacturing sites. Less chemicals and less input of toxic in food production could lead to a more sustainable and healthy lifestyle, which could also minimize health risks to human beings as well as our environment. If we could balance the use of environment and high-end technology used for food production, we can have a better life with less risks in our food security. We must also invest in producing food more sustainably by the use of our natural resources. So that ends my presentation. I hope you learned something and apply it in yourselves. Thank you and goodbye.